My name's Chrissy. Welcome to my home. I am recording this video in collaboration with Roots and Refuge. They're a family that farm and YouTube in South Carolina on a beautiful property down there. And Jess from that channel has asked for people to contribute to a playlist or a book list of recommended books for in this gardening homesteading space, books that can be trusted, relied upon, that people have used and verified the information. And so I'm really excited to share my list with you. I have never done a video like this before, so this is just me being a little bit brave. But so these books, just to give you a little bit of context, my husband and I have moved here recently in the last 6 months with our 7 children. We've relocated to Texas, living on a little homestead here. We're renting at the moment on 11 acres and planning to start our little homestead here. Moved over here for family reasons. Very excited to be here. We were homesteading on a small scale back home in Australia and hoping to expand that and do a lot more here. So these books are books I have already used or I have at least already read through and trust the information. Some of them I've used extensively. So I will start with a few that are from Australia. So I know Jess has a lot of Australian, New Zealand viewers, and obviously that's where a lot of my friends and family are. So this may be useful to people like that. First one is Backyard Self-Sufficiency, which is written by Jackie French, which if you're an Aussie, you've probably, if you're in the book world at least at all, if you read, may have heard of Jackie French. She's quite a well-known author. This book, most of her writing is in the, she writes historical novels, children's books. She's very well known in that sphere, but she also is an avid gardener. Now, this book I only purchased a few years ago, but I found it to be very, very practical, very useful, very thorough. Now this is specifically written for the Southern Hemisphere, and I am sure it would have information that's useful to everybody. This is one of the things I love about Jackie French is the space she's coming from. And one of my favorite quotes in this book, I'm just going to read it to you real quick. She says, most Australians, oh, hang on, back up a little bit. She's talking about growing food in hard times. So she went through a period of time where it was all easy, and then there was hardship and droughts and things like that she had to learn. I began to learn how to grow things during the hard times. Most Australians never know times like that. Even in droughts, the garden hose protects them, as does the knowledge that the supermarket will always provide. I prefer to live in contact with the world around me. Too much insulation cuts off half your life. And I just resonate so well with that. I think she's my kind of girl. So she has written in here about gardening tips, but also food, medicinal herbs. So all the way through from structuring your garden, and she was sort of doing permaculture before it was trendy to do that. This book is not a new book. It was published as the 1992, I think it was first published. So it's been around a while. And I just found it to be very practical and useful in the design of your garden, in the harvesting, the use of the fruit and veggies. Yeah, just really, really reliable. So recommend that one. The next one, oh yeah, I guess this one is actually just a magazine, and it's all, you can see it's kind of torn up. This is the only copy I bought from Australia, but it is just a really valuable magazine, periodical that you can subscribe to. A lot of times you'll find it in newsagents and places like that. And it is, people contribute to it, just ordinary mums and dads and ordinary people living on their land contribute to the magazine and write articles about how-tos, and some of it's inspirational, some of it's very practical. So if you're in Australia, recommend that one. This book, Peter Andrews, this book is all about water. and specifically how to rehydrate the land naturally through good management practices rather than intrusive external inputs. So I actually have not read this book, but my husband has read this book and the accompanying one. So he wrote Beyond the Brink. He also before that wrote Back from the Brink, which is talking about just the degradation and of land in Australia through poor management and dehydration of the land. So extremely interesting, extremely practical and helpful, especially if you are living somewhere where water preservation is an issue. And I think we should all be thinking about it, but some places, obviously, it's a bigger issue than others. So highly recommend that one. Introduction to Permaculture by Bill Mollison. Another Aussie. He has become very well renowned these days, and again, an older book. But this book is just so helpful when it comes to planning your garden, your space, your home environment, and learning how to think about how everything interacts together and how you don't look at things compartmentally. You look at how every section impacts and interacts with other areas. So your chooks aren't just your chooks over there in a pen. You think about your gardens, you think about your kitchen, you think about the way you walk and how you move around your property. You think about where the water flows. And anyway, so it's all of those principles of permaculture, very simply explained, but in a lot of detail in this book. Highly recommend that one. Another one, which we have purchased since we moved here and found really good, is The Independent Farmstead by Shawn and Beth Dougherty. We had the privilege of meeting them just last weekend at the Farm Where You Live festival in South Carolina. Just really down to earth, beautiful people. And this is just really practical on things about managing grasslands, managing your animals, and minimizing the inputs externally so that you can become less dependent on external inputs. So really good one. This one we used fairly recently. It's Stress-Free Chicken Tractor Plans. And we have not, my husband, myself, my children, we are not super handy. We have not done a lot of building. But when we arrived here and we found ourselves even in a renting situation, but with a bit of space where we knew we could get some chooks, we're like, we've got to build a chicken tractor. And we have never done that before, but we found this book just practical. So my husband and my kids opened the book up, went and got the materials, and were able to build one of these chicken tractors, which I can see our chookies out there out the window now, happily pecking away. So this is just it's a really practical book. It's about how to build chicken tractors, but found that really helpful and easy to follow for novices. This one, so a lot of people will be very familiar with Justin Rhodes. He's very well known in this space. Really years ago when we were first sort of endeavoring to look into living a simpler life and wanting to take our kids along on the journey and wanting to just do things closer to the way God designed. That's what we've been wanting to do. And we found this is a little, I don't even know if you can actually still get it because it's on a CD, a DVD. Permaculture Chickens was so helpful to us. So it's not a book, but it's a resource. And he obviously has a lot of things online, and he just really opened our eyes to how chickens naturally live and how to incorporate them into your garden. And I guess applying a lot of the principles we had read about in Permaculture Chickens, in Introduction to Permaculture, this was really, okay, now this is the background, now let's step into actually doing this. And so that was really helpful. His book is another one I love. The Rooted Life. What I love about this book is that yes, it has practical how-tos, it has recipes, it has a valuable information, but what it also has is this invitation to come and live a more wholesome life, but live a simpler life and bring your children along. Let's do it as a family. Let's connect, increase connection, increase community. I don't know. It just, to me, was very, very inspiring and yeah, very valuable on a lot of levels. Okay, now the next ones, I feel like I don't even need to mention these because Joel Salatin is like, everyone knows Joel Salatin, right? If you're in this regenerative permaculture space, he's so well known and for good reason, but these are some of our favorites that we have. You Can Farm. I think my husband's read that 2 or 3 times and I've read it, and it's just so practical, as well as, you know, Joel, he's well spoken, he's very easy to read, he's articulate, and he has a way of being able to explain things that is just so helpful. Yeah, especially when you are coming from a position of, I grew up on the land, my husband did not, and this is just, all of these resources have helped to open that world up to him. And I have come from a farming background that was not permaculture focused at all. So yeah, we're both learning. So this one, very, very good. And you know, this book for us is a book of hope. It's a book of opening up the possibilities that you don't, Joel doesn't, he thinks outside the box. He is not limited by physical constraints, and to us that has opened a whole world of hope of the things we can do without a lot of capital. So that's that one. He also, this was one of our very first books we ever got in this homesteading world. A friend of ours back home in the Noosa area handed us this, Folks, This Ain't Normal, and it was so refreshing, validating, and exciting to read, and hilarious. He's just a funny guy as well. My husband, again, has read this one. I have not yet, but this is like the update to this one. So this one, You Can Farm, was written 20 years ago. This one's like the updated version, but it has different information. It's like the, I think Joel calls it like the graduate class once you've read the other one. So again, just extremely useful, extremely reliable, helpful information. This one I read when we first moved here. We actually ordered it when he first released it, but because of the shipping from the US to Australia, which is insane, I chose to have it sent to my sister-in-law's here in the States. So I was really excited when we landed and I finally got to read it. And it just breaks down all of the principles that Joel uses on their farm, their really profitable larger farm in Virginia, and it breaks it down to a homestead level and how to implement that on a small scale. So extremely insightful and very, very practical. So that's been super helpful. And the last one, another Joel book, is Polyface Designs, which is a beautiful, huge book, like huge, lots of, again, it's a how-to. It's all of the designs to the infrastructure that you might need on the homestead for different things. One of the things I'm really excited about in this is, hopefully, Lord willing, we will be getting a milk cow. I'm so excited. I don't have a date on that yet, but I'm still really excited. And we're gonna have to build so I grew up calling it a cow bale because my dad always milked a cow or two. But apparently here you call it a stanchion. So a stanchion, that's what we've got to build ourselves for our new milk cow. And the designs are all in here. So we will be doing that shortly. So there you have it. That is my book recommendations. They are books that I have used. I have found to be very trustworthy. And I just love that Jess is doing this. I think it is so important in this world at the moment with a lot of false information getting around, and as she highlighted in a recent video, all of the AI books that are being written, that we can help each other out a little and say, hey, I've used these books and they were great and I recommend them to you. So I hope this is helpful to someone, and I will certainly be watching all of the other collaborators and their book lists. I've already watched a couple and found them to be, I've already learned a few things, so that's been fantastic. All right, have a great day, guys.